Hello, welcome. In this one, we're going to be going over password and sensitive file searching. This one will be going over a lot of generic enumeration. Let me be another quick one, but it's just going to talk about your generic enumeration to find these sort of sensitive files and what is classed as a sensitive file. Just some commands to maybe help you find them if you're on a larger file system or a corporate network, things like that. Again, if you good thing to consider if you are on networks or if AV is involved, things like that. Some of these commands probably are going to trip some filters, especially the ones we're searching through a lot of files. If you're searching for specific files or with specific keywords, you are going to trip EDRs. Maybe it's always one thing to consider with these things just for the future as well. So right into it, looking for passwords in files. So this top one here is from Out-the-Box Academy. It's a really ninja one. It finds passwords in text files, ini files, config files, and config files, and XML files. So this will basically just find the string password in there. Might be nothing, and it will produce a lot of output because there will be a lot of these on a given system. But obviously that's your job to go through it, and you'd rather have all of it than none of it. Application-specific password files, so such as web browsers, Chrome, Firefox, etc. I'm not giving commands for these because there's a lot of different ways you can do it, but essentially all that's meaning is you'd be going and if you're seeing processes running such as Firefox, Internet Explorer, check the user's app data, check the cookies, things like that, check where these browsers store um, these types of information, or see if there's a way you can dump the memory and try and get the clear text passwords, things like that. Another one is a registry search. So if you check these registry locations here, or just going through the actual registry and just searching for the phrase password, and it will just find anything with a key in it that's got the password string in it. That's from Payloads All Things. Again, a really cool one. I've had this on a few boxes. I'm not gonna say what they are, but I've seen these. These ones have helped me find passwords, things like that. And you'll find these as well if like auto log on passwords, things like that are present in the registry. Um, good little tidbits to use. So configuration files, as I was saying before, this is more so if you're on a system and you're thinking, oh, where am I going to look? So first place I would look for, if I see any of these sorts of files, they're going to get me interested. Have a quick look. Obviously, it depends what you're looking at. If you're looking at if you're seeing default files that are present on a lot of Windows systems, probably you need to look at all of them. But main one is a web server present, so I'd be checking the web router directory, especially if there's a backend such as SQL or any sort of database software. I'd be checking that database software, but I'd be looking as well in the folders such as the web root or whatever software is installed, seeing if there's like a configuration file or logging, things like that, seeing if there's anything present that will give me an indication that there's any sort of credentials there or any other way I can escalate my privileges. So what are the actual config files for? Oh, sorry, where are the config files for specific service stores? Stored as your config.php like in WordPress, things like that. It's more so, this one's more so related to like web configurations, but even so, if you see some obscure software, always try and have a look, see where it stores its passwords, things like that. Is it in getting from Windows? Is it in its own little file that's unencrypted? Things like that. It's always things to be thinking about. DB files anywhere on the system, so if there's a KeePass database on there, things like that, or is there just a random database just lurking about, or backup, things like that, lurking on there. Maybe there's an old backup that hasn't been deleted, or it might be there in the cycle bin, things like that. Application specific things such as git log. So I recently was on a machine and I learnt a new thing to check. So when I saw git and I went through the hidden git directory, I was like, oh, there's got to be something in it, and I left it and I couldn't actually see anything was present. I don't really use git myself, but from this engagement I was able to find two new things, one of them being git log, and basically this just displayed the commits, things like that happened, and in one of these commits was a username and password. So that's always a good thing to look out for if you see things like this. Just try and learn application specific stuff about them. So is there any way that any sort of credentials can be present in that application? Some PowerShell tactics, so always check the PowerShell history file. There's two ways of doing this. One of them is using PowerShell, or in fact, sorry, both of them using PowerShell. So this top one here sometimes didn't work for me, and there's a syntax error in that. I'm missing a bracket. There should be a bracket in the front here. This, for whatever reason, didn't work. I'm not entirely sure why, but instead I just made this here. So basically, this will just check this location here. So if you just run this, it'll automatically get your environment variable app data for whatever user you are running, and then it will go to this file and it'll print it out for you if this top one doesn't work. Another good one is check environment variables. Again, this is another top one on Linux. So one of the first things I run is like history and env, and that'll just print out on, especially on containers, things like that. So, is there anything present in there? I don't do it too much for Windows, but again, lo and behold, from not doing that, I've learned to now do it. every time. Because I've definitely fallen back on it before, and this is a good way of doing that using PowerShell. It'll basically enumerate all the environment variables on the system.